Welcome to Cults and Secret Societies. I'm your host, Ben Carter. Imagine, if you will, a clandestine gathering deep in the Nevada desert. It's the dead of night, and the only light comes from a distant bonfire, casting long, dancing shadows across the faces of huddled figures. They range from the young to the elderly, men and women, all bound by a shared belief. A belief in the existence of extraterrestrial life. Their conviction is so profound that it transcends mere belief. It is an absolute certainty. These are the members of the Starlight Fellowship, a UFO death cult that you've likely never heard of. The Starlight Fellowship was founded in the early 1970s by a charismatic leader known only as Orion. Orion claimed to have had direct contact with extraterrestrial beings who, he said, communicated with him telepathically and imparted their advanced knowledge and wisdom. Orion preached that these beings were not only technologically superior, but spiritually advanced as well, and that humanity's salvation lay not in religious doctrines or scientific advancements, but in embracing these extraterrestrial teachings. Over the years, the fellowship grew, attracting followers from all walks of life who were disillusioned with mainstream society, seekers of truth who felt a deep-seated dissatisfaction with the world as it was, and were drawn to Orion's promise of a better, more enlightened existence. They lived in a commune in the Nevada desert, cut off from the rest of the world, their lives governed by Orion's teachings and the promise of the coming ascension. The ascension, as Orion described it, was the day when the extraterrestrials would return to Earth, not to conquer, but to elevate humanity to a higher plane of existence. This day, he claimed, was fast approaching, and only those who had dedicated their lives to the fellowship would be deemed worthy of this ascension. In preparation for this day, the members of the fellowship lived a life of asceticism, renouncing material possessions and earthly desires, their lives dedicated solely to the pursuit of this otherworldly enlightenment. But beneath the veneer of spiritual enlightenment and alien wisdom, a darker truth lurked. The Starlight Fellowship, like many cults, was driven by manipulation and control, with Orion at its center, wielding his charismatic influence over his devoted followers. As we delve deeper into the story of the Starlight Fellowship, we will explore the intricate web of control and manipulation that Orion spun around his followers, the tragic events that unfolded as a result, and the enduring mystery that surrounds the cult to this day. The Starlight Fellowship was born in the late 60s, a time of profound social and cultural upheaval in America. The Vietnam War was in full swing, and widespread protests against the conflict were sparking a broader countercultural movement. The civil rights movement was challenging the entrenched racial segregation and discrimination, while the second wave of feminism was beginning to rise. It was a time of radical change, of old certainties crumbling and new ideas emerging, a fertile ground for alternative thought and beliefs, including the burgeoning interest in UFOs and extraterrestrial life. Orion, the charismatic and enigmatic leader of the Starlight Fellowship, surfaced in this context. Little is known about his early life before he rose to prominence as the head of the fellowship. He was a man of mystery, and his past was shrouded in secrecy, a fact that only added to his allure. Orion claimed that his first contact with extraterrestrial beings happened in the Nevada desert, a region that has long been a hotbed of UFO sightings and alien conspiracies. Orion's teachings merged elements of Eastern spirituality, particularly Buddhism and Hinduism, with Western esotericism and the burgeoning New Age movement. However, the cornerstone of his doctrine was his claimed contact with extraterrestrial beings. He preached that these beings were not only technologically advanced, but spiritually enlightened, possessing a wisdom and understanding that far surpassed human comprehension. This captivating blend of spirituality and science fiction attracted many seekers of truth who were disillusioned with mainstream society and searching for a higher purpose. The promise of a forthcoming ascension, a day when these extraterrestrial beings would return to Earth and elevate humanity to a higher plane of existence, provided a sense of urgency and purpose to the members of the Fellowship. The Fellowship's headquarters, a remote commune in the Nevada desert, was strategically chosen. The isolation provided an ideal environment for the followers to immerse themselves in Orion's teachings, away from the distractions of the outside world. It also allowed Orion to exert his control over the group without outside interference, creating a closed system where his word was law. The Starlight Fellowship thrived in this secluded environment for many years, its membership growing steadily as word of Orion's teachings spread. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly peaceful community, a darker reality was taking shape. Orion's charisma and the promise of the ascension provided a powerful tool of manipulation, leading to tragic consequences that would ultimately expose the dark underbelly of the Starlight Fellowship. As we delve deeper into this enigmatic group, we will explore the mechanisms of control, manipulation, and the tragic events that unfolded within the Starlight Fellowship. At the heart of the Starlight Fellowship was its enigmatic leader, Orion, a figure shrouded in mystery. Born under the name of Richard Jensen in 1946, he later adopted the name Orion after the constellation, claiming it was given to him by the extraterrestrial beings he communicated with. Orion was a charismatic and persuasive speaker, and his teachings resonated with those seeking alternative spiritual answers. Orion claimed that he first encountered extraterrestrial beings at the age of 22 during a solitary sojourn in the Nevada desert. He described these beings as enlightened entities from a distant galaxy, who had chosen him as their earthly conduit. Orion proclaimed that these beings had revealed to him the secrets of the universe, providing him with knowledge far beyond the reach of ordinary humans. This narrative, of being an exclusive recipient of cosmic wisdom, was a powerful tool in consolidating his authority within the Fellowship. Orion's teachings, which he called the Starlight Doctrine, were a complex blend of mysticism, science fiction, and philosophy. He spoke of higher dimensions, cosmic consciousness, and the impending ascension, a day of reckoning when the extraterrestrial beings would return to Earth. According to Orion, those who had been initiated into the Starlight Doctrine would be elevated to a higher plane of existence during the ascension, transcending their human limitations. This doctrine was shared with the Fellowship through a mix of group teachings, personal counseling sessions, and written material. Orion was a prolific writer and produced numerous books and pamphlets outlining his teachings. These writings were considered sacred texts within the Fellowship, studied and memorized by its members. Orion's control over the Fellowship was absolute. He was seen as a prophet, the chosen one, with direct communication to the extraterrestrial beings. This belief, coupled with the isolation of the desert commune, made it easy for him to enforce his doctrine without question. Dissent was not tolerated within the Fellowship, and those who questioned Orion's teachings were either silenced or expelled. The belief system of the Starlight Fellowship was not just concealed, but actively guarded. Orion preached that mainstream society was not ready to accept the profound truths of the Starlight Doctrine. He warned his followers against sharing their beliefs with outsiders, reinforcing the idea that they were a chosen few, privy to knowledge that was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. This created a us versus them mentality within the Fellowship, further strengthening their bond and their allegiance to Orion. The promise of the ascension and the fear of being left behind kept the members compliant and obedient, setting the stage for the tragic events that were to come. Conspiracies and hidden agendas have always shrouded the Starlight Fellowship. and the most significant one involves the alleged manipulation of its members by Orion, its charismatic leader. The Starlight Doctrine, the Fellowship's foundational belief system, is seen by many as a tool fashioned by Orion to control and manipulate his followers. The promise of a higher plane of existence, attainable only through adherence to the doctrine, kept the members in a state of obedience, their lives focused on preparing for the ascension. Accusations have also been made about Orion's financial transactions. He is said to have demanded significant monetary contributions from his followers, supposedly to fund the Fellowship's activities and the production of his numerous books. Critics argue that the money was used to finance Orion's lavish lifestyle. This view is supported by the accounts of former members, who claim that while they lived in modest accommodations, Orion resided in a luxurious private residence separate from the rest of the commune. Furthermore, Orion is accused of wielding psychological control over his followers. The isolation of the desert commune, the US versus them mentality, and the fear of being left behind during the ascension, these all serve to create an environment of manipulation and control. Former members have spoken of the emotional and psychological abuse they suffered, the constant fear of not being worthy enough for the ascension, and the repercussions of questioning Orion's teachings. The influence of the Starlight Fellowship, however, did not remain confined to its desert commune. It is alleged that Orion, using his charismatic personality and the promise of cosmic enlightenment, was able to gain the allegiance of individuals in positions of power. There are rumors of influential businessmen, politicians, and celebrities being covert members of the Starlight Fellowship. These high-profile members, it is suggested, were used to further Orion's interests and expand his power base. Critics also accuse Orion of using the Starlight Doctrine to justify immoral and illegal practices within the Fellowship. There are allegations of forced labor, physical abuse, and even sexual exploitation. These actions, it is claimed, were presented as necessary steps towards achieving spiritual purity and readiness for the ascension. The Starlight Fellowship and its leader, Orion, have always been shrouded in mystery and controversy. The conspiracy theories surrounding them paint a picture of manipulation, exploitation, and control, all under the guise of spiritual enlightenment and cosmic wisdom. The truth, as is often the case with such secretive groups, is hard to discern. But the testimonies of former members and the persistent rumors suggest a darker reality beneath the Fellowship's veneer of cosmic enlightenment. Moving deeper into the enigmatic world of the Starlight Fellowship, we find a rich tapestry of symbols, codes, and secret knowledge. These were essential elements in the Fellowship's rituals and teachings, as well as means of maintaining secrecy and power within the group. To outsiders, the symbols and codes used by the Starlight Fellowship might seem bizarre or even nonsensical. But to the followers of Orion, these symbols held profound cosmic significance. One of the most common symbols was a star encased in a circle, representing the Fellowship's connection with the celestial bodies and their belief in the impending ascension. This emblem was often worn as a pendant by members or etched into their personal belongings, serving both as a sign of belonging and a constant reminder of their cosmic mission. The Fellowship also used a complex system of hand signs during their rituals. These were believed to facilitate communication with the extraterrestrial beings they worshipped. The exact meaning of these signs is hard to decipher, as they were closely guarded secrets known only to the initiated members. However, former members have described these signs as a silent language, a means to convey messages, intentions, and feelings without the need for spoken words. Orion and his inner circle allegedly used coded language in their communications, particularly when discussing sensitive matters. This coded language, according to defectors, was a mix of numerology, astrological signs, and cryptic references to the group's doctrines. It was designed to be unintelligible to outsiders, further isolating the members from the outside world and strengthening the group's insular nature. Rituals played a central role in the life of the fellowship. These ranged from simple daily practices like meditation and chanting to elaborate ceremonies held during celestial events like solar eclipses or meteor showers. Orion claimed that these rituals were necessary for preparing the members for the ascension, for purifying their souls and aligning their energies with the cosmos. In all these practices, secrecy was paramount. The symbols, codes, and rituals were not just means of spiritual practice, but also tools of control. They created a sense of exclusivity, of being part of a chosen few privy to cosmic secrets. They reinforced the us versus them mentality, the belief in Orion's teachings, and the fear of being left behind during the ascension. In this way, the symbolic and ritualistic practices of the Starlight Fellowship served to maintain the group's cohesion, secrecy, and power, even as they masked the darker realities beneath its cosmic facade. While the Starlight Fellowship operated behind a veil of secrecy, there were those who attempted to pierce this veil and expose the truth about the group's activities. Among them were investigative journalists, concerned family members, former members turned whistleblowers, and law enforcement agencies. Each of these parties faced their own set of challenges in trying to shed light on the group's inner workings. Throughout the late 1970s and early 1980s, investigative journalists were among the first to take an interest in the Starlight Fellowship. Armed with notepads, cameras, and a healthy dose of skepticism, they tried to penetrate the group's shroud of secrecy. However, they were met with a wall of silence. Members were forbidden to speak to the press, and those who dared to break this rule faced severe punishments. Orion and his inner circle were equally uncooperative, dismissing journalists as servants of the worldly system and refusing to grant interviews. Despite these challenges, some journalists managed to gather enough information to publish damning exposés. These articles painted a chilling picture of a cult-like organization that exploited its members, both financially and psychologically. They described a world of fear and manipulation, where dissent was ruthlessly suppressed and blind obedience to Orion was demanded. Concurrently, concerned family members were also trying to expose the truth about the fellowship. Parents, siblings, and children of members banded together, sharing their stories and pooling their resources. They hired private investigators, contacted law enforcement, and even staged interventions in an attempt to rescue their loved ones from what they saw as a dangerous cult. Their efforts were often met with hostility, both from the group's leaders and from the members themselves, who had been conditioned to view outsiders with suspicion. Law enforcement agencies, particularly the FBI, took a keen interest in the Starlight Fellowship. However, their investigations were hampered by a lack of concrete evidence and the group's evasive tactics. The fellowship had a knack for covering its tracks, using a web of front companies to launder money and employing legal loopholes to evade scrutiny. The group also used intimidation tactics, threatening potential whistleblowers with lawsuits, public humiliation, and even physical harm. In response to these attempts to expose them, the Starlight Fellowship adopted a strategy of denial and deflection. They dismissed the allegations as fabrications of a sensationalist media, a conspiracy by the government to suppress their spiritual message, or the desperate attempts of misguided family members unable to understand their loved one's spiritual awakening. They also escalated their disinformation campaigns, spreading contradictory and confusing narratives to muddy the waters and sow doubt among their detractors. Despite these efforts, the truth about the Starlight Fellowship slowly began to emerge. However, as we'll see, it would take a series of shocking events to fully expose the group's true nature and lead to its eventual downfall. The deeper teachings of the Starlight Fellowship were a complex mix of esoteric philosophies, metaphysical beliefs, and spiritual practices, which they claimed were revealed to them by the extraterrestrial entity, Orion. The group believed that humanity was on the brink of a cosmic awakening, a shift in consciousness that would elevate us to a higher plane of existence and unite us with our cosmic brethren scattered across the universe. At the core of the Fellowship's beliefs was the idea that humans are divine beings, essentially sparks of cosmic energy trapped in physical bodies. They believed that through spiritual practices such as meditation, energy healing, and astral projection, members could transcend their physical limitations and tap into their divine nature. This belief, that humans are essentially divine, is a common thread that runs through many spiritual and esoteric traditions, but the Starlight Fellowship gave it a unique extraterrestrial twist. They also held strong beliefs about the nature of the cosmos. The universe, as per their teachings, was a living, conscious entity, teeming with intelligent life. Earth was just one of many worlds, a spiritual kindergarten of sorts, where souls were sent to learn and grow. The Fellowship believed that Orion, and other entities like him, were advanced beings from older, more evolved worlds, reaching out to guide younger civilizations like ours. The Starlight Fellowship's teachings also touched upon the concept of divine authority. They rejected traditional religious notions of a singular, omnipotent God. Instead, they envisioned a cosmic hierarchy of enlightened beings, each with their own sphere of influence. Orion was portrayed as a high-ranking entity in this cosmic bureaucracy, a spiritual mentor tasked with guiding humanity through its cosmic awakening. However, the Fellowship's teachings also had a darker side. They preached that this cosmic awakening was not a guaranteed outcome. They believed that humanity was at a crossroads and could easily veer towards destruction. They painted a picture of a world ravaged by war, greed, and ignorance, a world that was crying out for spiritual salvation. For the members of the Starlight Fellowship, their mission was clear. They saw themselves as the torchbearers of this cosmic awakening, the pioneers of a new era of spiritual enlightenment. They believed that by following Orion's teachings, they could help steer humanity away from the path of destruction and towards a future of cosmic harmony and interstellar brotherhood. While the Starlight Fellowship may be considered by many as a fringe group from the past, it's worth considering their influence on modern culture and power structures. Despite their controversial teachings and practices, the Starlight Fellowship left a significant footprint on the societal landscape. In the realm of media, their ideas gained traction and found their way into science fiction and New Age literature. The concept of a cosmic hierarchy, a universe teeming with intelligent life, and Earth as a spiritual kindergarten have been echoed in numerous books, movies, and TV shows. The notion of a cosmic awakening, a common theme in their teachings, has also been used extensively in the narrative of various multimedia. In the realm of politics, the Starlight Fellowship did not directly influence policies or power structures. However, their teachings about a world on the brink of destruction due to war, greed, and ignorance have been echoed in various political discourses. The Fellowship's focus on the need for a spiritual awakening to combat these issues has been mirrored in political movements advocating for peace, environmental protection, and social justice. In terms of religion, the Starlight Fellowship's beliefs have permeated into various New Age and spiritual movements, particularly those with a focus on extraterrestrial life and cosmic consciousness. Their belief that humans are essentially divine and can transcend physical limitations through spiritual practices has influenced various spiritual and self-help movements. In the educational sphere, the Starlight Fellowship's teachings have not had a significant impact, largely due to the mainstream rejection of their unconventional beliefs. However, in alternative education environments and within certain philosophical or sociological studies, their ideas have been examined as a part of the broader exploration of religious and spiritual diversity. In finance, the Starlight Fellowship did not leave a direct footprint. Still, the ethos of their teachings, particularly their focus on spiritual growth over materialistic pursuit, can be seen reflected in certain economic models and movements advocating for a more ethical and sustainable approach to finance. In conclusion, while the Starlight Fellowship may have faded into relative obscurity, their ideas continue to reverberate in various aspects of modern society. Their teachings, often seen as bizarre or outlandish, have nevertheless contributed to the ongoing conversation about our place in the universe, our spiritual nature, and the future of humanity. As we delve deeper into the Starlight Fellowship's teachings, we encounter theories and claims that go beyond the realm of conventional thinking, veering into territories that are decidedly more radical and speculative. While these theories may challenge our understanding of reality and push the boundaries of plausibility, it's important to approach them with an open mind. One such claim from the Starlight Fellowship concerns occult rituals. It is suggested that the group performed a series of complex ceremonies aimed at summoning extraterrestrial beings. These rituals, reportedly involving elements of numerology, sacred geometry, and ancient symbology, were believed to create a spiritual bridge between the human and the extraterrestrial realms. The aim was not only to communicate with extraterrestrial beings, but also to channel their wisdom and cosmic energy. Then, there are the allegations of mind control. Some ex-members and critics of the Starlight Fellowship have claimed that group leaders utilize psychological manipulation techniques to control the thoughts and actions of its followers. It's suggested that these techniques ranged from subtle forms of suggestion and reinforcement to more direct and coercive methods. The aim, according to these claims, was to ensure complete adherence to the group's teachings and to suppress dissent or doubt. An even more extreme theory relates to mass manipulation. Some speculate that the Starlight Fellowship was not merely a small, isolated group, but rather the visible tip of a much larger, hidden iceberg. Proponents of this theory suggest that the Fellowship could have been part of a wider network of similar cults, all working in unison to manipulate global consciousness and direct humanity towards a specific spiritual destiny. While this theory lacks concrete evidence, it nonetheless highlights the pervasive fear and fascination with the idea of hidden forces shaping our world. Lastly, we come to the question of extraterrestrial origins. The Starlight Fellowship's belief in otherworldly beings is well established, but some take this a step further, suggesting that the group's leaders may themselves have been extraterrestrial entities. This idea, often dismissed as pure fantasy, is nonetheless compelling in its audacity. It suggests a reality where the boundaries between the human and the extraterrestrial are not just blurred but fundamentally intertwined. These theories, as radical as they might be, underscore the allure of the Starlight Fellowship and similar groups. They offer a tantalizing glimpse into a world that defies conventional understanding, a world that is filled with mystery, intrigue, and the promise of hidden knowledge. They remind us that, regardless of their validity, such theories reflect a profound human desire to understand our place in the cosmos, to seek out the extraordinary and to question the accepted limits of possibility. As we close this exploration of the Starlight Fellowship and the other obscure UFO death cults that have captured imaginations and lives, we are left with as many questions as we have answers. Despite numerous investigations, countless interviews, and countless hours spent poring over pages of testimonies, the full truth remains shrouded in mystery. The secrets these groups held, their inner workings, their ultimate aims, all remain largely unknown. The questions that linger serve as reminders of the inherent enigma that is human belief, and the lengths to which some will go in search of meaning and acceptance. Perhaps one of the most persistent questions revolves around the leaders of these organizations. Who were they really? Were they charlatans exploiting the vulnerable? Or were they true believers themselves? Were they guided by some otherworldly force, or merely masters of manipulation? Despite all we've unearthed, the motives and identities of these figures remain as elusive as the extraterrestrial beings they claim to represent. Another question that gnaws at us is how many more of these cults might still be out there, hidden away from the public eye. How many more individuals are drawn into their mystifying orbits, their lives irrevocably altered, their destinies intertwined with a promise of otherworldly salvation? The unsettling truth is, we may never know the full extent of these clandestine organizations' reach. Then, of course, there's the question that looms larger than all others. Could any of their claims of extraterrestrial contact be true? As outlandish as it might seem, we can't entirely dismiss the possibility. Our universe is vast and largely unexplored. Who are we to say what mysteries it might hold? The Starlight Fellowship, along with other UFO death cults, serve as chilling reminders of the thin line between belief and delusion, between spiritual enlightenment and psychological manipulation. They are remarkable testaments to the power of faith and the dangerous lengths to which it can lead us. They challenge our understanding of the world and our place in it, pushing us to confront the unknown and the unknowable. In the end, these stories leave us with a sense of profound unease, a lingering suspicion that beneath the surface of our everyday existence, something strange and otherworldly might indeed be at play. They compel us to question everything, to look beyond the ordinary, and to grapple with the mysteries of the universe that remain tantalizingly out of reach. The trail may have gone cold, the secrets may never be fully uncovered, but the fascination and the quest for understanding persist. And perhaps that is the most enduring legacy of these enigmatic UFO death cults. Thanks for listening. This has been Cults and Secret Societies. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to support the show, subscribe to the Forbidden Knowledge Network on Patreon. Subscribe now.